In 2018, 4 Arab nations went to the World Cup. 4 came home in the group stage. Same region, 4 years later, Morocco reaches the semi-final. Saudi Arabia beats Argentina in one of the biggest upsets in football history. Nothing about the Arab world changed in 4 years. The football did. The question is why? Go back to Russia. 2018, Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, Saudi Arabia. 4 teams at the World Cup. The most Arab nations ever at a single tournament at that point. And if you watch that tournament, you remember how fast it ended. All 4 gone before the knockout rounds. Not one survived. Saudi Arabia's only win, their only win, came against Egypt. After both teams had already been mathematically eliminated, they were playing for nothing. Morocco dominated Iran statistically and still lost to an own goal. Egypt had Mohamed Salah and lost every single game. It was brutal. The Arab world had sent its best. The World Cup sent them home. 4 years later, something happened that nobody in the history of football had ever seen. Morocco beat Belgium, then Spain, then Portugal, with Cristiano Ronaldo watching from the bench. I still don't think people have fully processed what that means. They became the first Arab and first African nation to ever reach a World Cup semi-final. And while that was unfolding, Saudi Arabia, ranked 51st in the world, beat Argentina 2-1. Argentina, who hadn't lost in 36 games. The team built around Lionel Messi, the eventual world champion. Saudi Arabia was 18-1 odds to win that match. Think about that for a second. A $10 bet on Saudi Arabia that day paid you $180. That is how impossible this looked on paper. And they won comfortably. In the end, 2 goals. Goalkeeper making saves in the 90th minute. One of the greatest upsets this sport has ever seen. Same region, 4 years apart. Completely different results. So, what changed? Everyone is going to give you the same answer. The 48-team expansion. FIFA grew the tournament from 32 teams to 48. Asia went from 4 automatic spots to 8. Africa went from 5 to 9. A record 8 Arab nations at 2026. Algeria, Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Morocco, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Tunisia. Jordan and Iraq qualifying for the very first time. And yes, that matters. But here is the thing. And this is where the conversation usually ends when it should just be starting. Egypt were at the 2018 World Cup with 32 teams. Saudi Arabia were there. Tunisia were there. More spots didn't exist yet. And they still qualified. They still went. And they still came home in the group stage. Expanding the door doesn't teach you to play football. The real cause is something much more specific. And it started with a decision made in August 2022. 4 months before the World Cup began. Morocco's federation fired their coach. Vahed Halilhadzik had guided them through African qualifying without losing a single match. But he refused to select Hakimi Ziyech, one of Morocco's best players, and the federation made a call that looked, at the time, like madness. They brought in Walid Regragui, a coach with almost no senior international experience, and they gave him less than 3 months to prepare for the World Cup. In less than 90 days, Regragui drilled something into those players that no Arab national team had ever produced at a World Cup before. A compact 4-1-4-1 defensive shape so tight. Actually, let me give you the number that says it better than any formation can. Through the entire run to the semi-final, Belgium, Spain, Portugal, not one opposing player scored against Morocco. 1 goal conceded in the whole tournament. An own goal against Canada. That was it. Sofiane Amrabat anchored the defensive shape, cutting off every passing option. The unit so disciplined that when Portugal tried to break through in the quarterfinal, they couldn't find a single lane. And when Morocco won the ball, they moved fast. Hakimi on the right, Boufal on the left, and Nassiri alone up front, with 5 or 6 teammates suddenly arriving around him. Amrabat won the ball 41 times across that whole tournament. 41 times. That's not a footnote. That's the entire story of how Morocco played. But the real impact wasn't just what Morocco did on the pitch. It was what it showed every other Arab football federation was possible. Which Arab team do you think goes furthest in 2026? Drop your pick in the comments right now. I want to see where everyone lands. Here's the part almost nobody talks about. The players on that Morocco squad. 14 of the 26 were born outside Morocco. Achraf Hakimi spent his entire football education inside Real Madrid's academy. Sofiane Amrabat was developed through the Dutch youth system. Ziyech came through the Netherlands too. They weren't born into strong national team infrastructure. They were raised in European academies, playing against the best players on the continent every single week, and then they chose to come home. In 2026, this has accelerated across the entire Arab region. Morocco's squad now has 19 foreign-born players, 12 of them raised in France or Spain. Tunisia and Algeria have more than half their squads developed abroad. Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga. These are players who understand high-intensity tactical systems not from studying them, but from living them. Not on YouTube, on the training pitch, against the best players in the world. This is not just a Moroccan story anymore. It is a regional transformation, a decade in the making, about to arrive on the biggest stage in football. The third shift is the one that gets discussed the least, and it might be the most important. For a long time, Arab football operated around one idea: defensive first, reactive, wait, hold your shape, hope for a mistake. Saudi Arabia changed that against Argentina with a single tactical choice: a high defensive line, sitting far up the pitch, compressing space in midfield, that suffocated Argentina's entire build-up. That is not a passive team waiting for the other side to slip. That is a proactive system, designed to take something away from one of the greatest attacking squads ever assembled. This is spreading. Coaches across the Arab world are rebuilding around structured, identity-driven systems rather than just names. Setups that require every player, not just the star, not just the captain, to know their role. The whole squad, though better. Before I give you the real reason, what do you think actually is? Not the spots, not the money. What is it? Comment it right now. I read every single one. And look, I've thought about this a lot. The simple answer was never satisfying. Here is what I keep coming back to. The 48-team expansion finally matched the door to the talent that was already there. But talent without direction is just potential. Morocco gave the entire Arab world a direction, a blueprint that said, with a clear system and the right identity, you can dismantle Spain. You can dismantle Portugal. Arab football had never had that proof before. It has it now. And the generation waiting to use that blueprint, raised in Real Madrid's academy, in Dutch youth football, in La Liga, in the Premier League, was already there, ready, waiting for all three things to exist at the same time. In 2026, for the first time ever, they do.